Okay, so without further ado, might I invite the first presenter to tell us a little bit about their poster.
Okay, morning everyone. My name is Dawn Nicholson and I'm a PhD researcher from the Centre for the Study of Group Processes at the School of Psychology, University of Kent. How many of us have been part of a decision-making team where the decision made was ultimately shown to be wrong? It's a very common occurrence with potential costly consequences which include time, money, and reputation. For all the hype about the greatness of groups, research shows that groups don't make optimal decisions when faced with the likely scenario that not all group members have access to all information. Psychologists call this a hidden profile, and fixing this has exercised many of us. This study takes an existing intervention, the pre-mortem, and applies it for the first time as a means of improving group information exchange and decision-making in a hidden profile task. Major decisions are made every day in small face-to-face groups. This makes my research and its application highly topical. Future directions include pairing the pre-mortem with diverse groups to I get the message. Thank you.
Well, I'm afraid that's what happens if you go over your 60 seconds, but thank you anyway. Right, number two, dare I call you that? We have no number two. No, not attending, very good. Number three then, perhaps. Yeah. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name's Suzanne Mullet. I've recently completed my MSc in Occupational Psychology at Coventry, and my poster today is from my dissertation. The subject matter is out-of-hours email use, which I'm sure is relevant to many of us in this room. Specifically, I looked at the relationship between cognitive appraisals, psychological capital, and perceived email pressure. I learnt several things. It's an extremely complex issue, and in fact, a moment of panic occurred when 2 out of my 3 hypotheses were not supported. However, this changed my perception of the topic and has given me plenty of ideas for further research. In this famous quote by Marcus Aurelius, he speaks of the power of perception, and indeed this does appear to be relevant to out-of-hours email use, but it's only part of the story. The second quote on the slide reminds us that it's also the responsibility of organisations to address the issues remote access creates and be mindful of the impact on work-life balance. Thank you. I hope you'll come and see my poster, and I look forward to meeting you.
And the next one, please.
Morning. My name is Tracy Rosell. Just completed my Masters at University of Leicester. Despite evidence supporting the positive outcomes of processes that promote patient safety, highly skilled and motivated teams aren't complying with them even when they perceive the benefits. So this research investigated why. The results challenge the existing perception of hierarchical status and also propose that the importance of psychological safety in these multidisciplinary teams may need to be reassessed. This was because there were other factors that produced more accurate models to predict compliant behaviour. The research also illustrated the organisational barriers that are producing conflict between the theoretical processes to promote patient safety and the reality of how the surgical teams actually work. And if these are not addressed, this may prevent the effective implementation of initiatives to reduce patient safety errors in future. If you've got any questions about any of the above, please do come and have a chat with me at the poster. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name's Ray Milliken. My poster summarises research into the interorganisational psychological contract, and I carried this out for my MSc in Occupational Psychology. I'm not a psychologist, I'm a procurement and supply chain consultant, and I conducted qualitative research into a European pharmaceutical supply chain across 14 countries. I wanted to know if psychological contracts existed in that context and what effect they had on relationships. I found that they did exist and that implicit expectations, like those shown on the slide, had both an effect on operational collaboration, quite significantly, and also the potential for multi-million-pound contract renewals, well-being, job security, etc. So some serious stuff going on there. It would be great to explain this in more detail and my associated PhD research at the University of Birmingham, so please do come along. It would be great to see you there. Thank you.
No? Yes.
I'll keep this nice and short. So this is based off actually an MSc dissertation I did whilst I was at Birkbeck, because I do some work around employability in psychology students. So I thought I might as well kill two birds with one stone. So I was interested in testing a goal-setting model, seeing whether things like motivation were linked to greater engagement. And this is based off some qualitative work I did as part of the survey. So I was interested in whether in what students felt would actually improve their employability, who they were seeking advice from, and so on. And for me, what was quite interesting is they consistently emphasised the importance of getting relevant experience and getting advice from people who had relevant experience. But when they said who they were speaking to, quite often it was friends and family, who very often were not necessarily in those fields, or from their lecturers, who, again, not necessarily actually in those professional fields. Quite a small number of people were actually speaking to. I think I can honestly say I have no idea what just happened, but that was interesting. Oh, okay, that's fine.
Hello everyone, so I'm Dan Hughes from JCA Global, and our research explored the relationship between emotional intelligence traits and sales performance. So we specifically focused on comparing and contrasting two quite different sales roles. So first of all, a transactional, high volume, low yield sales role, and then also an enterprise-based, more relationship management sales role. And we particularly wanted to look at whether the transactional sales role correlated more with the intrapersonal aspects of emotional intelligence, and whether the enterprise sales role more with the interpersonal aspects of emotional intelligence. So we did find some differences in the relationship between EI traits and sales performance for those two roles. So if you'd like to hear more about that, please come and see the poster. Thank you.
Excuse me. For nothing else, if anybody can come and see me with some beachums or cold and flu, that would be great. Anyway, my name is Phil Griffin. I'm currently a master's graduate at University of Gloucestershire. Last year I completed my undergraduate, and my dissertation, which I'm presenting today, is about the socio-cultural context of C-suite bankers. I wanted to use some qualitative research to look at how the group processes of scapegoating, stereotyping, influence the social identities of C-suite bankers. I obtained access to 4 areas of C-suite bankers: risk, reward, corporate and investment. And I had some extensive 12-hour interview sessions with them. And from those I did an inductive thematic analysis, producing some themes such as responsibility, risk and reward, status. And really we went through how the group processes of scape.
This is, I'm afraid, quite a ruthless process, so thanks very much to our presenters for playing the game and please, with the next one. Thank you.
So, hi everyone, I'm Chrissy, I'm from Cornfrey Hay Group. So it's been estimated that as many as 50% of senior executives derail, and the costs of that to the organisation are huge. But much of the research as to why this happens focuses purely on personality, so dark side traits or overplayed strengths. But motivations also seem to be a key factor relating to leadership effectiveness, but there's not that much research out there linking motivation to failure or derailment, so that's what I aim to do. So I use data from talent queue assessments, so dimensions and drives, for those of you that know them, to investigate the link between motivation factors relevant to leaders and derailment risk behaviours. And this is actually the project that I submitted for my MSc dissertation, and it got a pretty good mark. So feel free to come take a look and talk to me about it, and I'll let you know more. Thanks.
Okay, good morning everyone. My name is Simon Toms. I'll give you a brief context on this project. So I was in the 2015 Leadership Development Programme intake, and the part of that process is to do a group project and an individual project. This is a very brief summary of my individual project, which was sponsored by Dr. Ian Bushnell, who is a former DOP chair. And he noted that in the UK, the title of Occupational Psychologist has received considerable focus in relation to how it's protected and regulated. So whilst this focus is warranted, it was noted by Ian that there's been very little interest in how other countries basically do the equivalent in terms of their regulation and protection of the title, if they do it at all. So this project was basically looking at the various different comparable international titles, and looking at also what they do in terms of their practice that encompasses within that title. So the poster probably got more questions and answers, so you can email me at the bottom of the poster. We'll give you the full 60-page report for free, so that's very good. And we also have a session tomorrow morning at 9:40 in here where we go through the implications in more detail. So thanks very much.
Hi everyone, I'm Rachel Driver, and the poster I'm presenting was part of my dissertation project I submitted as part of my MSc at City University London. I looked at situational judgment tests used in selection into dentistry school in the UK. SJT tests, as some of you will know, are considered to be a lot fairer than traditional cognitive ability tests in that they tend to elicit smaller group differences for candidates from different gender groups and ethnic backgrounds. And I wanted to look at whether the response format used in SJTs has any impact for these different candidate groups and the fairness towards them in their performance. So I've found some interesting group differences, and the project that I completed was the first of its kind to look at these formats within the same SJT and also within a high-stakes education setting. So if you'd like to know more about the effects that I found and how this can be used to help develop SJTs going forward, come and have a look at the poster. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Fatima Tresh, and I'm a PhD student at the University of Kent and Centre for Study for Group Processes. So my research focuses on leadership potential. Given that investing heavily in high potentials who may fail or leave the organisation is risky, it's really important to get selection right. So my research takes a social identity approach to identifying high potentials. So the social identity approach to leadership suggests that those who exemplify the ideals, norms and behaviours of the group are likely to emerge as leaders. So I investigate whether being a highly prototypical member of the organisation, representing the ideal image of the organisation and acting in line with their values and norms, should be a prerequisite to being assessed as a high potential leader. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Emily Jarrett. I'm at Work Psychology Group now, but I will be presenting the research that I carried out for my MSc dissertation recently, also at City University London. So I looked at several factors that impact the well-being of professional dancers, who are a group of people that don't get a whole lot of attention in occupational psychology research and yet could really benefit from it. So I've just got a quote there which I think summarises quite well the sacrifice that dancers make in order to pursue the career that they've chosen. So I've got a lot more to say about this. Do come along later and ask me lots of questions. Thank you.
Hello everyone. The story behind our study started in 2013 with a report by the National Institute for Clinical Excellence, which highlighted the need for healthcare professionals to become better at detecting and treating acute kidney injury in their patients. We set out to look at how work design might help them in this respect. But to kick that off, we wanted to find out what it was that healthcare professionals actually needed to do in order to manage acute kidney injury. So how we looked into that and what we found are described on our poster. So come and have a look if you're interested.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Mary Elizabeth Cross. I'm from the Rail Safety Standards Board. So the aim of this project, which we carried out, was to understand how best to manage train drivers on routes undergoing significant changes. So this was specifically to understand, to make sure that drivers don't feel overloaded by lots of new information and jeopardise any safety or performance. The output of this research is a good practice guide with a series of tools and information on how best to support drivers and help embed and sustain the change. Such tools include a specifically created model of change management for safety critical changes. And the idea is that this model, and indeed the good practice guide, can be used beyond the train driver role and applied to any role in the safety critical industry. Hope to talk to you all about it later. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Zabera DK. I'm a PhD student in my second year in Organizational Psychology Department at Birkbeck. My research is about motivations to knowledge sharing. When I was conducting my literature review, I noticed that a lot of research came from the premise that knowledge workers were amotivated and we needed to motivate them. So our interventions were to provide technology and change their social and organizational structures. Now, where I'm coming from is, what if these social structures and all these interesting things we're throwing at them, including increasing their autonomy, what if all these things are actually demotivating previously motivated knowledge workers? If you want to know more about it, please come to the stand. Thank you so much.
Hi everyone, my name is Brendan and I'm from the University of Manchester and the Alliance Manchester Business School. And my research is about diversity and creativity. So a lot of research in the field has been talking about the link between diversity and creativity, but does it always work? Well, many researchers argue no. So what my research is about is what are the conditions that actually facilitate diversity to creativity, and how does it do it? So if you're interested in this topic, please come to my poster. I would like to talk to you more about it, diversity and creativity. Thank you.
Well, thank you all very much, and apologies to the one or two people that we did kind of cut off there. Various techniques I noticed being developed for getting inside the 60 seconds, including sort of taking shortcuts and sprinting up to the podium and speaking very quickly and so on. But I hope presenters, you feel that has given some exposure to your posters and from the audience's point of view, a taste of what's around and some encouragement to go and visit the posters and look at them and follow up on some of the things that you've heard. Okay, well thank you, and we're now going to split into our